midst of the French colonial enterprise, he started to work as a young monk to bring the Buddhist community together, to have one voice in Vietnam for Buddhists. And for his kind of audacity, he received a lot of jealousy and misunderstanding, wrong perceptions from even his elder brothers within the Buddhist hierarchy. And so he had to learn how to skillfully guide. How does one, within a religious tradition, transform that tradition without dispensing with it altogether? How could he update Buddhism to make it real and relevant for everyday life? And that is the project of Engaged Buddhism, or Buddhism going into everyday life, as he described it at that time. And he had the opportunity to come to study in the West, to be a special student at Princeton University. I think we saw his application there at the presentation in the Burke Library. I invite you to look at it. Dean Hormighausen of Princeton Seminary was so moved by Thay's presence, he looked everywhere to find a program that would accept this monk who had credentials that could not easily be described on paper, and found that a home in Union Theological Seminary where he could both teach and learn. And he completed his master's thesis on the teaching of consciousness only, or what he updated as manifestation-only teachings of Buddhism, Buddhist psychology, which is deeply relevant for what we're experiencing right now in our kind of semi-virtual realities on social media and with a chaotic political situation. So this program of Engaged Buddhism then spread to young people when he returned to Vietnam, and as we all know from the image of Venerable Thích Quan Duc immolating himself on the streets of Saigon, which was captured in the spring of 1963, he felt very moved. And it's only recently in his memoir that even his students knew that during his time here at Columbia, Thầy made all the plans to continue to follow Thích Quan Duc's example, and had planned to immolate himself here in New York City in order to galvanize the peace movement. We didn't know that as his students, and we now understand so well why just a year later, when he wrote his letter to Dr. Martin Luther King, explaining how self-immolation is a noble and could be seen as a powerful way of expressing oneself that is not a suicide. Yeah. When he wrote that letter to Dr. King, little did we know that he was speaking from his own lived experience of contemplating such a thing himself. And so you can see that this is an incredible man, incredible monk, incredible person who is deeply in love with the world, even to risk his own life in every moment to help people to wake up to the beauty of our present moment experience. And it was just the intervention of a professor here at Columbia University, Professor Fries, who put his hand on Thay's shoulder, and Thầy felt a kind of startling shock through his body. Went out of the philosophy building in Columbia and walked mindfully down to the very corner where we stood this morning, where Thầy abandoned his idea to immolate himself, as he wrote in his memoir. And he saw that his path would take a different route. His path of sharing the Dhamma would honor the action of Thích Quan Duc and so many monks and nuns who could only express themselves in that way, and he would find another way to express his teaching of the Dhamma. So I just share a little bit because there's limited time, but I would encourage everyone here, if you have a chance, to get your hands on this book, In Love and Trust. It is letters that Thầy wrote to his students in the 60s, to his colleagues in the like Thomas Merton and Dr. Martin Luther King, Alfred Hassler of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, and many others. Then later his monastic students as he founded Plum Village and started to develop a monastic community, which continues, you see, today with us. Because this book, it really helps you to see from Thai's own pen and own heart, his vision for a beloved community that he vowed to continue after Dr. King's assassination. There's a beautiful essay in here that he wrote to one of his students, Venerable Cho Tuan, I think is his name. He was is that Thai Cho Tuan, yeah, who was the last leader of this movement Thai started, the School of Youth for Social Service, to train urban youth to come together and work together with folks in the countryside outside of Saigon to bring sanitation, medicine, and education to children who didn't have a schoolroom, who didn't have a working toilet. He wrote about how to build community. Deep in the heart of this venerable monk that we come together to honor today is a vision to build true siblinghood, true brotherhood and sisterhood in the present moment. And I think it's had never been a more dire moment for us to come together in person and build the kind of community you just felt right now as we practice eating bread together, really realizing the true meaning of the word companionship, sharing our bread together, eating in this holy place, in a place where we come together to honor someone who has deeply loved humanity and deeply loves us right now in the present moment and wishes us to continue beautifully into the future. So I finish and just share that I wish you can come to practice with the community of Plum Village anywhere in the world. There's Plum Village in France. Near here we have Blue Cliff Monastery. So many of our brothers and sisters came from there this morning. A number of us come from Deer Park Monastery in Southern California. There's Magnolia Grove Monastery. So you can see in person, not in theory, not through books, but in person, how it feels to live in a true community. And then when you come back home, you'll see true community right where you are. You will see that around you are people who care, are people who deeply feel the pain of what is going on right now in the present moment and who want to make a change. And that will give you hope and joy. Don't isolate yourself. And I can't help but share, just to finish, that the movement Wake Up for young people, which was started in 2008 by Thai, he originally called it Young Buddhists for a Healthy and Compassionate Society, which is quite a mouthful. So we shortened it to Wake Up. And as part of that, there's a number of us here and some of our young wake-uppers who've been part of this movement. Erica and Christopher are in the back with more of these brochures that I encourage you to look in, to take with you if you know somebody who might be interested, especially a young person who would like to engage in spiritual practice, community service, real living the path in community. This is a program we're starting at Deer Park this fall. It's called Action Wake Up. It's out of the Wake Up movement, part of the Wake Up movement. And it's 15 months of engaged practice and service, very much in the spirit of Thai's School for Youth and Social Service. But there are many other as well, beloved community circles and online groups of engaged Buddhists who meet and create the kind of community that can support activism and real engagement with the situation in society. I want to stop here and leave space for Reverend Kosan Greg Snyder to speak next, but I thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I wish you a lot of joy and happiness on your path. Thank you for welcoming us here at UTS.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your very inspiring words. I'm especially moved by the call. Can everyone hear me all right? I'm especially moved by the call for engaged Buddhism to be on the ground in the community, doing practical things that care for lives. A few names were mentioned. My name is Greg Snyder. I'm the Senior Director of Buddhist Studies here at Union, and I coordinate the Buddhism and Interreligious Engagement Program and the Thich Nhat Hanh Program for Engaged Buddhism with Peace Twesaji, who's sitting here in the front. And before I say more, I want to thank Peace and Leora and Christina for all, and so many others for what it took to place that sign on that street and create a mark in our community that helps us remember Thay's work and Thay's life. These spaces are not just simple signs, they're ritual spaces. They don't just carry a name, they carry a life, they carry a way of being. And when we pass them, they will inspire that in us. And some names that were brought up, Thomas Merton, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Thomas Merton's conversion a few hundred yards this way. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Riverside speech a few hundred yards this way. I learned from Sister Chan Kong last time she was here that one of the great inspirations for Thay's return was Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was here. And so there's a history in this place that is moving and about engagement. Sometimes I always wonder, is there something in the rock of Morningside Heights that keeps drawing these people here? But Ambedkar was across the street, it goes on and on. And when we were first invited to start a Buddhism program here, I'll see if I can, I just want to pay attention to time here. Okay. When we were first invited to start a program here, one of the reasons that we wanted to start a program is many of us were monastically trained, but we weren't necessarily trained in what it was to go out into the community in the ways that we actually see in Vietnam and in the 60s, where social workers are going out into communities and rebuilding those communities. That training wasn't happening in our monastery training. And so what was it then to think about seminary training and have a different kind of training that is alongside? And of course, not everybody who comes through the Buddhism program is monastically trained. We have many lay people who come through. But Union itself has such a long, rich history of engagement. It was founded in the early 1800s as a way of engaging New York City and the needs that were happening in front of us. And sometimes we can get wrapped up in the term engagement. It's very easy, I think, especially in this country, to get wrapped up in ideologies, views, what that means in that way, and sometimes maybe lose sight of what it is to be hands-on in a community, caring for the needs of a community. And to actually have those needs communicated to us, because we don't know till we listen. And I think this is so key. I think of all the writing that I've read by Thai, and what I most remember is the way he moved, and the way he listened, and the way he heard, and the way his feet walked. And in that sense, to be trained in a way that we can bring the Dharma as an embodied listening into community and understand what it is to meet that community. We are in a time when it seems like there is a great deal of pride in grasping views. In fact, in some ways we're not even taken seriously if our views are not grasped hard in a hard way. And the more our view is grasped, the more serious a person we are in some ways. And what is it to release from that and become a body that is interlaced with all of the... Thai was so good about teaching us about the way we are interlaced with everything else. In fact, when we were standing in the rain this morning, I thought, how many times did he use the rain to describe interconnectedness to us? And then there it was, we were in the rain. Of course, we should have been. And we were learning. So to come to Union and to start a program in a traditionally Protestant seminary that has this history of social justice seemed like the place for an engaged Buddhist program to start. And to come through and learn the skills, first of all, just to give a sense of what happens for students who come through the Buddhism and in a religious engagement program. First, a class, for those trained monastically, this all happens far, far too fast. But we go through a training in different meditation styles. We take classes on various expressions of the Dharma in different schools. We study the Asian socially engaged movements and try to understand what would it be to take those examples and apply them to the needs of this country. Because we don't necessarily have the examples that we need here. If we're trying to come to, for those of us who are interested in coming to the needs of these communities from how we understand the Dharma, right? And much of how we understand the Dharma is the difficulty of being truly non-dual, and of course Buddhism is not the only tradition that comes from this place, but to be truly non-dual and universally compassionate without holding on to our views when we're trying to relieve suffering. These are easy words to come out of a mouth. They're very difficult things to do. And as the stakes, and I think the stakes are quite high now in our country, as the stakes get higher, it becomes more difficult and the training becomes more necessary. And there's a famous saying that comes from a Greek general whose name I'm not going to remember, ancient Greek general, that I'm not going to remember, but in times of crisis we don't rise to our aspirations, we fall to the level of our training. And I think there's some truth to this, that we fall to the level of our training in crisis. Recently, in the last 2 years, I went through my own health crisis, and up until that point, I really thought I had some understanding of the Dharma. And I didn't, to the degree that I thought I did when my life was threatened. And in that sense, it brought me to this place. So I can't remember who said it. I think we were down on the street. The teaching that Thầy gave us, that the joy and the suffering are there together, right? That there is and it makes sense, right? Because we feel in our heart is where we feel the suffering of the world, right? And we feel in our heart, we feel in this space the suffering of the world. Of course, this is where we feel joy, and this is where we feel compassion, and this is where we feel love. We feel all these here. And when our practices open that up, they are all there together. And compartmentalizing them in some ways makes all of them a little bit weaker. Allowing them to be there together in their richness is what allows a certain strength of engaging the world. For me, I fail at this mostly. I think we all try our best. Sister Chan Kung, the last time she was here, she said universal compassion was like the sun. We never really get there, but we try our best and to approach the warmth of the sun. And so to come into this program and to learn these skills and to go back out, and our students go back out into hospitals, they go into hospices, they go into activist movements, they go into many spaces where they bring the Dharma and this training with them. And then the public-facing program, the Thích Nhất Hạnh program for Engaged Buddhism, well, first of all, it was a joy to find out when I was first invited to come here in 2016. We did not realize that Thích Nhất Hạnh had a graduate degree from Union. Because what we did not realize at that time is that in the early 60s, Union was Columbia's religion department. And so that piece of information became available to us when we were researching. And so when we were thinking about what would it be to create peace, and I talk about this quite a bit, is how Union can be a place, a hub, a home for engaged Buddhists to come together. And the first event we did was over 200 people who considered themselves in that way of being Buddhist, and they came together in this space. It's quite full. And that really was the moment when the thinking of a public space that we would name in honor of Thầy came into being. And we're still trying to understand, and we're so grateful to the Order of Inner Being, to those at Blue Cliff and at Deer Park and at Plum Village, all your support. We have a lot to learn and to understand from you. And to grow this program in such a way that this becomes this everyday out in the world Buddhism that you described. You know, I think of the word engage. In English it means one thing, but it's probably likely, you can tell me this, it's probably likely engaged Buddhism, I was thinking in French. And in French it has a very different meaning. In French it has, since the 19th century, has very much the meaning of being socially and politically engaged in the world. It has that sense to it in a way that it doesn't in English. So we're getting that sense in English now. And the hope, the prayer, the aspiration is a world where we can actually care for one another from compassion and love, where we can do what things, I mean, for me, I'm always puzzled when caring for poverty is politicized or made a political thing rather than simply an act of compassion and love. That we can come together and care for these things, not just as Buddhists, but as Christians and as Muslims and as Sikhs and so on, as indigenous people in this country. And understand what it is to, I don't know, I want to set our aspirations high. End starvation. End poverty. End the suffering that is causing. End the absurdity of racism and the absurdity. These are views that are unnecessary and are keeping us all miserable. And we can relieve ourselves of these views. The Buddha gave us very, very clear directions. Thầy gave us very clear directions on how we give up these views and we let them go. And, you know, in the Kama Sutta, and I'll end with this because I always love this. Kama Sutta is a very short sutta in the Pali Canon. It's maybe 150 words. But in the beginning, the Buddha says, where is old karma? Where is old karma? And he says, old karma is in the eyes and the ears, the nose, the tongue. It's in the body. It's that which is sedimented into us. Our old karma is sedimented into our body. We don't even know we're acting from it most of the time. It takes a great deal of mindfulness to see. Where's new karma? Well, he says it's in greed, hatred, and delusion. The things that we are now seeing authoritarian regimes and other communities raise up as good There are books being published now that empathy is a sin and various things that are very confusing. And for us to become aware of our old karma in our own bodies, but also our old karma in our society. What is the old karma that we're carrying in the body of our society? What is the new karma that we're reproducing every day? And what is it for all of us to come together from monasteries, from seminaries, from different training places, from lay people working in the community, to come together and say, what is it to actually interrupt this? To interrupt the reproduction of this violent karma. We can interrupt it. We know this. We know this from our practice. So what is it for us to interrupt it and not give up? I don't want us, no more cynicism. To not give up on the Pure Land, if that's the language we use. To not give up on a world of the Dharma. To not give up on the fact that there can be a place where we really do care and love each other. And the nonsense that gets in the way of that, it's all confusion. It's just confusion. If it weren't so tragic, it would be comic. It's all confusion. And can we help clarify that together and come to love each other and change this world? I don't want to give up on that. I don't think the people here want to. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you all in the order of inner being, and for really being a support to this place and for bringing the Dharma here. Our great love for all of you and for everyone near today. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me in the back? Wow, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Kosin, for your sharing. And thank you, everyone, for staying with us this whole day to celebrate and also have a space to reflect about the life and teachings of the Venerable Thích Nhất Hạnh. I know many of us hold him dear. So it's very precious that we have this opportunity to just pause and touch on some of his life, to reflect on what it carries, what kind of meaning it carries for us. Many of us were part of the walking meditation, and our brother Emptiness shared about our teacher's commitment to peace and his journey over to the United States to bring the message of peace and nonviolence to a very violent government in the hopes of changing, for whatever worth, changing the bent of history through one voice. Then our brother Stream, Brother Phaplu, shared about Thay's commitment to service and really engaging the practice, applying it where it matters. So today I thought to round out a little bit of our teacher's life and offerings to us as his continuation, I'd like to touch on the aspect of ethical conduct, his commitment to ethical conduct. In mindfulness circles, practice circles, we don't really emphasize and we don't really hear an emphasis on ethical conduct, what in our tradition we call the 5 mindfulness trainings or the 14 mindfulness trainings. We hear more about the practice of mindfulness, the practice of concentration and the fruition of insight. But actually our teacher had a very deep commitment to ethical conduct, to the precepts, or as we call it now, the mindfulness trainings. And he, in his time in the West, he put a lot of effort together with the Sangha to revise, to update, to modernize the language of the original 5 precepts for the lay community so that we could touch it in a meaningful way and not perhaps be obstructed by certain negative obstacles that we might have when we think of precepts. So our teacher recognized, perhaps it was already in his DNA from a very early age, as he was a monk since age 16. He also had a precepts body. He trained and to hold, to be pure in his precepts. And he also held in high esteem the power of Sangha. So as we reflect on his life, we can see that these 2 threads of Sangha, community, and ethical conduct were 2 things that really helped him to move through sometimes very difficult times, sometimes very challenging times, with something that he could really take refuge in. And so as we look together today, it's an invitation for us to also reflect on what it is that we take refuge in these days, in our personal as well as our community lives, so that we can have a place of refuge and know how, what, where to turn to when we have questions in our heart. Right now, we hear a lot of messages, and for those who don't have refuge, those messages can easily sway us. So we hear a message that might makes right. Whoever's the strongest or the loudest, we can easily follow along, right? Or we hear that it's safer to be silent, right? Maybe those 2 go together. Might makes right, and it's safe to be silent. It's safer to be silent. And this goes back to our question, what can we take from Thei's life that inspires us to be more sustainable and more true to our spiritual path? And part of our spiritual path, it comes back to ethical conduct. It's something that maybe in modern times, sometimes it's a little bit whitewashed out of our conversation of our spiritual practice. But what is our ethical conduct? What is our conscience saying? How do we engage our conscience when we touch suffering inside of ourselves, when we touch suffering in the larger society? And how do we not pull away so that we find safety in silence, or we shy away from might? So our teacher, he had a commitment to Sangha and to ethical conduct, as we can see by the effort that he put into creating a new language, a new way of holding ethics as practitioners. One very skillful way that he created this space for us to engage in ethical conduct was to give us a different paradigm. Many of us may come from a background of right and wrong, and our precepts may be something that we actually feel are restrictive. Thầy was very careful to engage us in the direction of well-being and health, right, and compassion. What kind of behaviors, what kind of ethical conduct will lead to good health, will lead to well-being, will lead to a compassionate society? And so that shows up again and again in Thei's way of presenting new initiatives. My brother mentioned the Wake Up Initiative. It's not a regiment, it's not a militant young group. It is a group who is interested in touching well-being, touching compassion, and bringing that out in society. And so this kind of framework helps us as practitioners move away from this mindset of right and wrong, judgment, self-recrimination, and move in the direction of exploration and openness. Secondly, our teacher planted ethical conduct squarely in the space of practice, not as something to attain or maybe to even perform, but to continually train in. So the threefold training of precepts, concentration, and insight, as many of us know, Thầy had a very deep insight that our precepts, our ethical conduct is nothing other than mindfulness practice, mindfulness training. So again, an open invitation to grow, to explore, and yet to walk the ethical path. So if we are lucky enough to touch ethics in this spaciousness, it's very easy to touch well-being because it is a path towards and a path of well-being. Lastly, in creating the language of practice, he embedded it right in the mindfulness trainings. Many of us are aware that the trainings begin with aware of the suffering caused by exploitation or unmindful speech or sexual misconduct. We are determined to, and this is the language of practice side by side with ethical conduct. So again, we have this sense of exploration and growth, a language of practice. As we become more aware, then our intentions, our aspirations evolve and grow along with our deepening awareness, and our actions follow accordingly. So Thầy brought these elements in to make ethical conduct a real foundation for our spiritual practice. Not something on the side, but actually something very fundamental. If we want to be moving in the direction of health or in the direction of healing, it necessarily involves ethical conduct and our exploration of it. Thầy also, I think this is actually quite an important point that I don't want to miss, so I'll share it now, that just as mindfulness practice leads to insight and ethical conduct leads to insight, Thầy was also quick to affirm that our insight also leads to ethical conduct. He very famously said once that mindfulness must be engaged. And once there is a seeing, meaning once there is an insight, once there is a seeing, there must be acting. Otherwise, what is the use of seeing? So there's a reciprocity between our ethical conduct, which gives us the peace of mind, the clarity to see deeply into suffering, our own or society's. And the reciprocity is once there is a seeing, we are moved to act ethically. So that is the question that is kind of floating there for all of us, and an open invitation today. What is our relationship with ethical conduct in our spiritual practice? Today, our teacher has left a legacy of many things. He has left a legacy of practice, to continue to walk mindfully and peacefully even when there is war and violence around us. He has left the legacy of engaged practice and service, especially in the midst of conflict. And he has also left the legacy of a deep and abiding relationship with ethical conduct. So as his continuation, we seek to breathe life, to continue to breathe life into our relationship with these hard questions that are coming up. Union Theological Seminary with the Engage program, the TNH Engage program, right in the heart of New York, I think has probably been dabbling with this these many years. It's a very nice partnership to have this kind of engaged question. What does my conscience have to do with these issues? And in the monastery, we are also engaged in that question. What has our practice, our deepening awareness, our ethical concerns have to do with the things going on out in the world? And it's an open question. So lastly, I'd just like to share that in that legacy that our teacher has left behind, the order of interbeing, in the 14 mindfulness trainings, every single one of those trainings is either directly or indirectly opening the door for us to explore our ethical conduct in relationship to suffering. So you can say that Thầy baked it in. He baked it into the trainings for us to continually bump up against this question. It's not a question of whether we are doing enough, but really, what are we doing? How are we contributing to this relief of suffering in all the many different ways? And the answer, it lies in how we engage our conscience. Are we standing down, or are we listening deeply to what our conscience is telling us to do or not to do? So today we are very grateful for having this space to bring a few bouquets of our teacher together to humbly reflect on his life and legacy, and also to humbly reflect on our own as continuation of him. And gratitude is a very big part of our practice. Our teacher often says that without gratitude there is no happiness. And we know that just this space, just this coming together was the product of many hands, many hearts. So we'd like to invite Brother Favcom to come up to share some gratitudes, and we have some tokens of gratitude to offer to our various friends who have been so kind to bring us all together. And Sister Lunyim, if she is here, we'd also like her to come up to make an announcement. After our practice of gratitude, we'd like to ask everyone to stay for our last activity. And we'd also like to ask our brothers and sisters, the monastics, to make your way up as we are transitioning to offer a final quiet contemplation, reflection, and a musical offering. So con xin quý thầy, quý sư cô có thể từ từ lên đây ở trong thời gian mà thầy Pháp Không và sư cô Lân Nghiêm chia sẻ.
So, dear Thầy, dear friend, dear Sangha, I think this is the part when we get the chance to express our gratitude for everybody who were involved in the day that we are organizing since 11 o'clock, even before, because there were exhibition of calligraphy of Thầy in the Burke Library as well. We are improvise a little bit, so we don't know exactly how many people can represent different group that are here. I hear Sue, but then I'm not sure if she's still around. The dean of the study. No, she left. Maybe we can express gratitude for Greg Snyder on behalf of our monastic and Buddhist. Thank you for your continuing program of teaching Buddhism at the Thích Nhất Hạnh Center here, and also for support us during the day here. Thank you. So we are looking for more people who are still around here, and and peace, of course. You know, she's a director of organizing the whole day, including everything that happened at the Union Theological Seminary. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think I would like to have gratitude for the community of mindful living of New York. I think it's a lot of people. If you can have one representative to come to receive our token of gratitude. Thank you. Anyone would like to come up? Maybe Lean Fine. Or Leora. Thank you. Again, I improvise now. I try to find anybody. I think also we are grateful for the Thích Nhất Hạnh Foundation and the various staff who help us to organize, especially on the public relations with the press, the media, and the release of press media. So maybe Steve, you can help us. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I'm still improvising. The day would not be good without our videography team. And they have a whole team of being taking picture and videography all day long. And I would like to express gratitude to Brian Murphy. And I think 2 or 3 of his team to help around. And we also have videography from Vietnam. I'm not sure if anh Thành còn đây không? Okay, I think he go shooting something else. Anybody else that I miss? Đúng rồi. Leora and Christina, are you still around maybe? Okay, maybe, yeah. And because anh Hương also, because without your petition to have come up with idea to co-name the street 109 street into Thích Nhất Hạnh Way, it would not be possible for us to do that. So thank you for your, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the 2 of you. We have plenty. So yeah. And we have a couple relatives of Thầy here. So I would like to thank Sister An Hương as well. I think that's okay. You represent Kim, maybe? Okay. Marjorie, maybe you can do help here. Okay. You represent all the volunteer from New York City. Do we have a young wake-up group here? They have a lot of stuff in the back of the room.
Max Weidman from Wake Up, he also organized all the volunteers.
Yeah. Max Wiedemann from the Wake Up who helped us. Yeah. Is Max here? Yeah, sometimes people go for a drink or something. Okay, we catch him later. Yeah, the Wake Up New York. Actually, that's what he's represent. Anybody who represents Wake Up New York? I think they're in the back of the hall. Anybody who represents Wake Up New York, that's good, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, we also have a member from our Parallax Press, Matthew or Max, I think. Yeah. They're responsible for a lot of publication of Thầy book. I remember we came here, Lotus in the CFI, and then there are a couple more books coming out. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your wonderful work of publishing and republishing many of Thei's books that can reach many people. Thank you very much. I hope that's okay.
So, dear respected Thầy and dear brothers and sisters and friends on the path, our day is almost ended, but Thei's legacy is still going on. You've been invited to all the centers in our tradition in order to continue your practice with us. But the great news is that the exhibition is still here until 5 today, if you would like to check it out. And tomorrow from 10 to 5, if you would like to invite your friends, your family to come and enjoy that with us. We feel deep gratitude to UTS and to share the space with us. Especially Peace has been organizing and coordinating with the monastics to make this happen. And also we feel deep gratitude to the friends in the library to share the space for us to have the exhibition and enjoy it. So when you come back and would like to check it out, to enjoy it, I would like to invite you to become a young student, wandering or studying in the library, respecting the atmosphere in the library, to enjoy that. As us, young monastics at Thầy, also used to be a young student here, be Thầy and be the Sangha when you enjoy that, so that you can take in all the calligraphies, you can enjoy all the legacy of books that Thầy have transmitted to us. Thank you very much for your practice and for your presence. So chị Anh Hương just informed me that we have an extended member in the family, Uncle Lê Bá Thông from Vietnam. He flew here from Vietnam last night, and in order to join us, and we would like to offer a present for your presence, for your effort, for your love for the Sangha. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, and dear respected teachers, dear communities, dear friends. As we are coming to a close today's meaningful inauguration ceremony, maybe I suggest that we take some quiet moments so that we together can reflect on what we have witnessed and celebrated together. So I would like to invite everybody to join me in a short guided meditation. So please come back to your stable sitting posture, coming back to your mindful breathing. Let our mindful breathing connect us with our beloved teacher Thầy in this moment of togetherness. Breathing in, we are here with Thầy. In each of our in-breath, breathing out, we are here with Thầy. In each of our out-breaths, Thầy. In each in-breath, Thầy. In each out-breath. Breathing in, we enjoy breathing with Thầy and the community. Breathing out, we cherish each other's presence. Enjoy breathing with Thầy and the community. Cherishing each other's presence. Breathing in, Thei's dreams can stay alive in us thanks to the support of the manifold community. Breathing out, we feel deeply grateful to the teachings and practices that nurture our mind of love. Thei's dream alive in us thanks to the support of Sanghas. Breathing in, we cherish the path that Thầy has inherited us. We cherish the path that Thầy has transmitted to us. Breathing out, may we walk together on this path in solidarity, cherishing the path Thầy transmitted, walking together in solidarity. Let us now listen with an open heart as Thầy is gently reminding us, please call me by my true names. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today, I am still arriving. Look deeply. Every second I am arriving. To be a bird on a spring branch. To be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest. To be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower. To be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. Today, we have not only named a street after our beloved teacher, but we have been invited to walk on the path that Thầy has offered us. A path of mindfulness, a path of peace, a path of love. A path of peace is not an ideal, but it is as a daily practice. A path of service grounded in love and understanding. A path of mindfulness in action, where every breath, every step can become an offering. My joy is like spring so warm. It makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and my laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion, the door of compassion.
Thank you, everyone.